Hi, everybody, and welcome to round 3 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Classic Sprint Series presented by Performa Elite Texas Graphics. This week, we head to Lexington, Ohio in the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course for our first endurance race of the season. Opened in 1962, Mid-Ohio was built right into the land, and according to its designer, Les Griebling, the track was built with a singular goal: to be difficult. From the keyhole to the carousel, each challenging the driver with off-camber downhill turns to turn 9's launching ramp into Thunder Valley. After watching tonight's races, I think you'll agree that the goal of Mr. Griebling was definitely accomplished. I'm Greg Ginsburg, and together with Larry McLeod, we'll be bringing you all the action for what will no doubt be a very exciting 75-minute sprint race. Now, Larry, I heard we missed out on not you were here. I missed out on a
Yes, you definitely may have missed out on something pretty special last week. It was one heck of a race there at Watkins Glen. We had everything from an absolute spectacular team coordinated pass there on the last lap going into the bus stop, but we also had some fuel strategies that didn't quite work out for everybody, including our own John Allen. There had little struggles there, not taking on enough fuel. He ran out. Even Elvis Rankin didn't quite take on enough fuel. As he was fuel saving, he managed to make it to the end, but definitely a bit of struggles there from those guys. So tonight, what I'm expecting is we are definitely going to need to see a lot of guys taking their fuel strategies a little bit more seriously tonight in this 75-minute race. So while we get things set up a little bit, Greg is going to be back with us in a second. He talked a little bit about this Mid-Ohio sports car course and this legend of the track nestled here in the valleys of the central area of Ohio, and it's going to be a challenge for these drivers. It's a great combination, these Miatas here at this track. It's kind of tight, it's windy, it's going to be a lot of tight racing, not a lot of passing going to be happening here at Mid-Ohio. But there are a couple of spots, maybe down the front straight, perhaps into the keyhole, and definitely down the long straight towards China Beach. But get it wrong going into China Beach, and you might see 2 and 3 wide, but get it wrong and might see somebody into the beach itself before we head through the section of Madness and the S's. So it could be an interesting night. Some great racing coming up here tonight at Mid-Ohio. So we'll give it a couple minutes, and we'll get Greg back online here and have both of us back in the booth. Greg's having a little bit of technical difficulties, as I think a lot of folks here on the North American side, especially those in the South, might be struggling with a bit tonight. If you haven't heard the weather difficulties in the South, a lot of freezing, a lot of snow going on, some folks having power outages. So we'll get them, hopefully most of them were able to get their practice session in and get ready for qualifying here tonight for round 3 of the Ricmotech Classic Sprint Series, of course, featuring the Miatas here. Brought to you by Ricmotech and, of course, presented by Performa Elite Texas Graphics, live from Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. All right, so tell you what, why don't we we've been talking about this track. Let's get you a lap around Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course.
Welcome, everyone, to Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, located here in beautiful Lexington, Ohio. Great to have you with us as we provide you your track guide today around this 2.5-mile road course. And what a thrill it is to drive this place with all its undulating and off-camber corners. Getting to the throttle here is critical. Let's head up the front straightaway here, and we'll give you a taste of what this place is like. We'll approach the start-finish line here. Head up into this very fast sweeping left-hand corner of turn 1. We will approach this corner in 4th gear. Just a lift of the brakes and then right back to throttle. Nice little track out here to get some good speed up this first straightaway here. This will take us to the very famous turn 2, known as the keyhole. Down into 3rd gear here. We'll approach this a little bit wide on the track out. Let the car rotate early so we can get right back to throttle and come back up off of that corner with another very fast launch, as this is going to take us out onto the fastest portion of the course, the backstretch. You'll notice another start flag stand there. We do have races that will start on the back straightaway here. That's pretty common at Mid-Ohio. Now as we approach turn 4 down at China Beach, there's a big sand runoff there to the left. For drivers that don't quite make it into that corner, up over Madness here, now down through 5 and now into 6. And then ultimately up through the S's here, underneath Honda Bridge through 7 and 8, 9, And now ultimately into turn 10. And then up into Thunder Valley. Real careful with the throttle coming over that crest back there. Easy to get that back end loose. Here we go through turn 10, up into 11 now. This will take us to turn 12, the carousel here at Mid-Ohio. One of the last couple of corners. Get nice rotation early here so we can get back to throttle. Let that car pick up some speed through 13, and then ultimately out onto the front straightaway, across the stripe, and there you go. There's your track guide for the beautiful Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Thank you for being with us.
Welcome back to the Classic Sprint Series here, the Ricmotech live on Apex TV, and we are underway with qualifying. Everyone's out there on their warm-up lap at this point, making their first trip around this very difficult Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. You got a look right there of Robert Hartley going around. That's going to be happening quite a bit, trying to use every inch of the pavement here at Mid-Ohio. That does happen. It's a track you need to be using every inch of, but sometimes it comes around to bite as he's making his way around that carousel. About to start his first flying lap. Trying to get some heat in those tires by the looks of it. We've had a couple of interesting and fascinating, fun rounds to watch so far. Our first round, of course, we had at Road Atlanta. And our second round, we've talked about a little bit already, as Hartley also looks like he's off again at turn 1 here at Mid-Ohio. We just talked a bit about the finish, that great finish we had at Watkins Glen 3 weeks ago. Didn't mention the first round at Road Atlanta with that incredible three-way fight. Actually ended up being one of iRacing's top 10 moments for the month of December, and where we had Elvis Rankin coming across the finish just barely ahead to win that first round race. So we've had a couple of fantastic finishes, and I expect we're going to see a lot of that here tonight. Very, very tight racing, as always, when you're running these MX-5, Global MX-5 Cup cars. We'll see how these guys stack up here tonight. Take a look really quick. I think we've got some point standings already now with 2 rounds in the books. So far in the ST Open group, you've got Josh Soto leading Edgar Sancinelli. Third place, Derek Holland and Nick Parsono. Jeff Cranston, Brendan Horan in 6th, Danny McNulty, Greg Brockway, and Michael Key, Mike Taylor, your top 10 in the ST Open group. Leading on the ST Pro, and this is where it's been tight. At the top, Mike Dam, just 1 point of an advantage over Elvis Rankin, as those two have split the first 2 races with wins. Zach Burke has been right there, just a couple of points back, now in 3rd. Robert Hartley in 4th, Travis Schwenke 5th, Mitchell Peak in 6th, Tony Kernan in 7th, Tyler Shiflett in 8th, George Fike in 9th, Jeff Jacobs in 10th. You'll notice John Allen down there in 12th. If he had not had that struggles with the fuel issues there at the end of that race there at Watkins Glen, can only imagine where he would have ended up, as he was right there in the mix there at our finish at Road Atlanta in that first round. So keep your eye on him here tonight at Mid-Ohio. All right, so we've got a couple laps already in the books. Right now, on the top of the leaderboard, it is Burke with a 136.3. Is Zach Burke. Mitchell Peak there, a 136.4 right behind him. Still waiting to see a time in, though, for some of our quick drivers. Still waiting to see Elvis Rankin put a time in. John Allen, not yet with a time. As we see Elvis right now out there in that number 1. Just floating that MX-5 Cup car around. As Zach Burke goes even quicker, 35.5. That's now the new benchmark that Elvis Rankin's going to have to lay down. And Elvis's first time in the books, 35.2 for Rankin. And that actually is his second lap, so his first lap must have had an off-track somewhere, as now we've got to take a look here at Robert Hartley. Hartley yet to get a full lap in clean. This is his first clean one, 136.3, good enough for 6th only right now. As this is Rankin and now Schwenke, then Burke, followed by Mike Dam, your top 4 so far in qualifying. John Allen's got one in the books right now, though still only good enough for 8th. these cars do get quicker as the qualifying session goes along. A lot of heat coming up top. You'll probably see these guys on about their third lap getting their optimal times in. No trouble doing that. Mid-Ohio, not the longest track, but definitely a difficult and challenging place to get the perfect lap. You see the section here down around the back stretches of the site. Very, very difficult to get a fast lap around there with all the ups and downs going down through Thunder Valley. To keep the car perfectly in control and just get on the brakes at exactly the right moment, to do that consistently is such a challenge. And then through the carousel, round turn 15 here. The time in there for Mitchell Peak, a 35.7. Everyone's still chasing. Elvis Rankin's 35.2. He's gone a little quicker, another 35.2. Mike Dam now, though, right on his heels, a 35.21. So that's your front row right now, and they've each got one lap to go here in qualifying. Backing up behind them, Zach Burke, John Allen, Robert Hartley nestling in as well now into that second row. Down the ranks a little bit, you've got Josh Soto now in 8th. The ST Open lead right there. Looking down the ranks a little bit as well, you've got from Travis Schwenke 6th, Mitchell Peak 7th, David Payton 8th, Josh Soto 9th, Jake Gertzen 10th, Greg Mack 11th. And you got Haran, Jacobs, Kernan, McGrew, and Jordy Fike down to 16th. Good shot there of Josh Soto in that number 07 as he's coming off the carousel for his finish time here. 36.0. As that looks like he's going to park it there at the end of his 4 laps. At the top of the lead, though, it is Mike Dam's going to call it quits there. He is done. He's not able to take advantage of his last lap and surpass Rankin. Rankin's still sitting at 35.2, and he is done for his 4 laps. Hartley, he is out of laps as well. Allen still is on his last flyer, 35.2. He's got him currently in 3rd. He's got 1 to go. Hartley's last lap got him in 4th. As Greg Ginsburg has rebooted his computer and joined me again.
I am back. How are y'all doing?
We're all right.
All right.
We are good. We've got a couple minutes left of qualifying. Everyone's just finishing up their last laps.
Excellent. You know, sometimes, Larry, things go horribly awry in the digital world, and I just
blame
been through that.
I blame the snowstorm in the south, even if it's not your end of the south. It's hit with the snow.
Well, we've had you know, buckets of rain coming down here in Charlotte, and I'd like to blame it on either that or sunspots, one of the two. But I think we are back up and functional and running, and you know, we'll do what we can this evening to make sure that all goes well. So thank you very much. And
no big deal. All right, we got a shot there of Mike Key. He's currently 23rd. He's out there just taking an extra lap for practice as he's got his 4 laps in the books at a 36.9. It's his best lap. And at the top of the order, it looks like Rankin over Dam is your front row. Allen, Hartley, your second row. Schwenke, Burke, then Peak and Jacobs. Jacobs really moving up well here at the end of this session, currently sitting on the 4th row.
yeah, and look at that interval, and I'm sure you've been through it already. Larry here sitting at the top of the pro class with Elvis Rankin in the number 1 car with a margin of 1/100th of a second separating he and Mike Dam. John Allen less than a 10th back from there, so that is a very tight field. And actually, if you go through the top 10 in the pro field, you can see how very close those drivers are.
Yeah, you look at the top 7 are a half a second apart, and those top 2, as we were talking about them, if you watched any of the other Ricmotech series events, it's Rankin and Dam have been 1-2 in every class they go into, and they're teammates, but they are teammates that battle it out just tooth and nail every single week that we call a race. I expect nothing less from them tonight, as they're going to have some fight on their hands, though, with John Allen also on the same tent. They're virtually on the same tent there, and Robert Hartley, Travis Schwenke, Zach Burke. This battle up there now, just 3 tenths separating the top 6, is just going to be intense. And that's what we had seen, as you would probably imagine if you did go. I'm sure you went back and were on the edge of your seat watching the race from Watkins Glen last week. That's what we had, was that train of about 7 cars that just were almost inseparable for the majority of the race until they did their pit stops, where a couple came in early, a couple came in late, and eventually they all kind of came back together at the end. And I kind of expect something like that here, because this place is notoriously difficult to pass.
Now, Larry, have you talked about what we expect to see tonight during the 75-minute race as far as pit stop strategies, as long as you bring up what happened 3 weeks ago at Watkins Glen?
No, perfect timing. Go for it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so tonight we're going to have this 75-minute endurance race, and the interesting thing is that we're only allowing the drivers to fill their tanks up to about 60% of full. That's just about 7 gallons, a little bit over 7 gallons. And so basically what we're looking for here is that these drivers should be able to get maybe a maximum of 30 laps. Now, given the lap times that we've seen in practice here, we're expecting the drivers to put in, it'll take about 2 minutes, and hell, we're looking here at what these drivers are doing with a 135. We're kind of expecting somewhere along the lines of, I believe, about a 47 lap race. And so if that's the case, obviously these drivers are all going to have to put fuel in the car. The question will then become whether or not they need to put tires on the car as well. But it's also going to open up a pretty wide pit stop window here for these drivers when they try to determine when they can come in and when they should come in, and whether or not they have to, or whether or not they have the opportunity to make the undercut based on pit strategy. But all of our drivers should be coming into the pit lane. Otherwise, well, they're probably going to end up a number of laps short.
Yeah, I would expect to see some tire, with such a long race tonight. I do expect to see some tire changing going on tonight. I'd be surprised if we don't. And this place, I think, is a little bit more abusive on tires than maybe some of the other tracks we've been to lately.
Yes.
But it'll be tight for sure, and it's going to play into it. If somebody wants to roll the dice and try doing without it and try to cut that pit stop down by a couple seconds, knowing how difficult it is to pass, if you think you can hang on to it and be a wide car for the last stage of the race, perhaps you can make that work. Go up, be the last one to come in for the pit stops, don't take the tires and try and come out in front. Maybe you can make that work. John Allen tried to make that work the last time out, was the last car to come in for a pit stop. He came out in front of the field, but as soon as he did, he realized he didn't take on enough fuel and suddenly tried to fuel save. He had no drafting partner, and at Watkins Glen, having no drafting partner, he was a sitting
that's
duck,
a problem. Yes.
And then ran out of fuel in the last lap as well, to really add insult to injury. So tonight, I'm sure himself, he will take on enough fuel. Elvis Rankin had a fuel issue last week. He managed to just save enough by short shifting and staying in the draft to the end of the race. I expect those guys and everyone else has learned their lesson here in Mid-Ohio to not have that kind of a problem. So it could be an interesting night with everyone now really aware of what a fuel starve can do to you if you don't take on enough.
All right, so now with qualifying here, I believe just about complete. Let's go, Larry, and run down the starting order for this 75-minute endurance race here on the Ricmotech Classic Sprint Series. Starting off on the pole today is going to be Elvis Rankin with a qualifying time of a 135.2, just 14 thousandths of a second off of that. His teammate Mike Dam will start on the outside of the front row. John Allen in the Defined AutoWorks machine will start third. He was only 88 thousandths of a second off the pole. Robert Hartley will start beside him on the outside of row number 2. Row number 3 today will be Travis Schwenke with Zach Burke starting in 6th. And Mitchell Peak will start on the inside of row number 4 with Jeff Jacobs right beside him in the streetsurvival.org machine. Then we've got David Patton and Tyler Shiflett. They will make up your 5th row. and Josh Soto and Jake Gortson will make up row number 6. Starting 13th will be Greg Mack with Tom Rathy right beside him. Then we've got Brennan Horn and Tony Kernan. Then Edgar Santinelli will start 17th right beside Randall McGrew in 18th, and Jordy Fike starting 19th, and Kevin Ford starting in 20th. Starting 21st will be Chris Thorman with Jeremy Cranston starting 22nd, then Dean Dibdahl, and we'll talk a little bit more about Dean as the race goes on. He'll start 23rd. Michael Key will start 24th today. And then rounding out the order, Greg Brockway starting 25th in the Esports Racer Machine with Mike Taylor, and the Frito Sport Racing number 26 car will start, number 66 car will start 26th. Then we've got Derek Holland and Patrick Prevenis. They'll start 27th and 28th. Nicholas Parsegano will start 29th with Devin Roger 30th. Then Eric Kleister and Robert Brist will start 31st and 32nd. Stephen Brown will start 33rd. And that rounds out our field today for round number 3 from the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course.
This is going to be interesting, and I think they've got the short run to the line, so it can be real quick for everyone to get gathered up and be ready to take this green flag, and then 75 minutes with one fuel stop somewhere in the middle and probably some tires to decide who takes round 3 here at Mid-Ohio.
All right, well, we'll have to see, Larry, because I believe we're actually going to be taking the start on the back straight today. So let's see if the drivers get gridded up and take the green flag. And you'll notice here that the pack is not very well formed yet. And I believe that, I believe the case is that we are going to be taking the start on the back straight. This is where a lot of the... Yes, sir.
I was going to say, very typical to actual real world how the races will be done.
Exactly. So you'll see them start to get gridded up as they head up towards the keyhole here on this 13 turn 2.25 mile version of the course. As you mentioned, we're running the version without the bus stop chicane. You'll see the drivers make the run heading down towards the keyhole right now as they are starting to get all gridded up, and it looks like we will have just one start here for both groups. And we've got, for example, Josh Soto, who's our pole sitter for the open class. He's mixed in with the rest of the field, so it's going to make things a little bit more difficult for the rest of the group. But they now come out of the keyhole. They're going to come down, and the starter stand is right after turn 3, the kink, here on this long back straight at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, and they'll get a great run. Yep, there they go. Green flag as our drivers now make their way down towards turn 4. Covering to the inside is the number 1 car of Elvis Rankin. He comes right across his teammate Mike Dam, but side by side going into turn 4 for the very first time, it's Mike Dam and John Allen in the 101 car. They're still side by side as they come up the hill to the appropriately named Madness. As they crest the hill and head back down the hill, Mike Dam in the number 93 car takes over sole possession of second place. John Allen slots into third. Then we've got Robert Hartley, Travis Schwenke, Zach Burke in the number 13 machine and peak, and we've got cars off coming out of Madness.
That might be Jordy Fike at the back of the field, maybe? Or Kevin Ford. It might be Kevin Ford off at the back. But we'll see how that shakes out in just a minute. Looking a whole lot better than Miatas at Sebring last weekend is our Miatas here at Mid-Ohio. I had to get that in. The Miatas here way, way better than that Madness. This Madness here at Mid-Ohio looking like a good, well-organized start with 75 minutes of racing in front of us. All
right, as our leaders now are making their way through the carousel for the very first time, John Allen moves himself up into second place in the number 101 machine. And Hartley now, Robert Hartley, in the number 3. He is now, appropriately enough, the third place car, with Mike Dam now moving back and falling back in the 4th position. Now, it looked like we did have a couple cars that went off after the Honda Bridge over by turn 7. We'll have to check on them a little bit later, but a little bit further back, we've got a battle right now between Mike Dam and Zach Burke. Burke really pushing Mike Dam as they go down into the keyhole for lap number 2 and running wide. Is that the 93 machine, or that's a little bit further back? That's the 24 of Tyler Shiflett. He gets things back underway as they now roll down the back straight.
Yeah, they're going to get real dicey down this back straight. Nobody wants to lose positions early in this race. They want to try and make one up, and it's just not easy. You've got to get such a run out of keyhole all the way down here towards China Beach, and then everybody wants to get all dicey going 2 and 3 wide. But if you're not together back by the time you get down toward these S's, it's just going to be lost time. You cannot be going double file through there.
No, it is essentially a 1-lane track, as you go through there. If you want to maintain speed, it's a one-lane track, as it is through a lot of this course here. Things will open up a little bit as they make their way. There's a very short run down towards turns 10 and 11 and heading over towards the carousel. But you can see already this 33-car field has straightened itself out, has gotten single file as they make their way through, as these drivers are going to be looking for opportunities to make passes off some of the faster corners here, like turn 1, where our drivers are heading now.
Yeah, and the straightaways just aren't that long here, so you've got to stay close and start pushing and nudging when you can. One of the places you got to get up alongside somebody through the keyhole and have a shot to get by them at the end of the back straight. But right now, if you're in the top 6, your goal is to just stay close and maybe make a pass at the pit stops. So I would expect that this top group, all the way down to peak, is just going to be stay in line and don't do anything crazy. In fact, they just want to make sure Elvis Rankin doesn't break the draft.
Doesn't break away. Yeah, exactly. I was going to say they all basically want to just stay in the draft and make sure that there are no breakaways up at the front of the field. And as it stands right now, it really is. I'd say, what, about a 24, 25 car battle for the lead here, Larry, as everybody, for the most part, is still in line. We've got the good little pass there going into turn 4. The number 7 car, Tony Kernan, with Randall McGrew, as they make their way up over Madness right now. But for the most part, most of these drivers are staying in line. The one safe place is that turn 4 right-hander before China Beach.
That is your best shot, but you've got to have a heck of a run coming out of keyhole. If you don't get the great run and you try to stuff it down the inside in a 4, you're both going to end up out in the China Beach.
All right, as our leaders now start to make their way over towards turn 12, and Rankin has started to stretch things out just a little bit on the 101 car of John Allen. The lead now about 2.5, maybe 3 car lengths, and now heading into the pits and heading in very early. That is Mike Dam in the number 93 car. Started on the outside of the front row, and he is now heading down the pits. Seems a little early, Larry, to be taking fuel.
This is not a fuel stop by any means. I can only imagine that this might be some sort of a drive-through penalty or something.
Yeah, that's all I could imagine.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. We'll have to wait and see. There was another incident reviewed that was no actions inconclusive as a result there, but I'm not sure what's going on here in the case of Mike Dam, of why he has driven through.
All right, so as the action continues on, we're taking a look right now at our leader in the open class. That is Josh Soto. He is in the number 07 car. He's got Tyler Shiflett right ahead of him, and Soto gets around Jeff Jacobs in the number 38 car as they now make their way up through Madness. And again, our leader right now in the open class, next driver in that class, and you'll be able to see all the open drivers. Oh, going around is that believe that was Greg Mack, the number 2 car that spun coming out of Madness, or coming out of turn number 4. That's going to drop him down the order considerably.
Real quick update. Yes, both Mike Dam actually was assessed a drive-through penalty for changing lanes prior to the green flag, prior to the actual start line. Also a penalty be coming to, I believe it is the 13 of Zach Burke. So you're going to have 2 different drivers as we see the shot there of the spin of Greg Mack.
Yeah, so a little bit of contact there that sent Greg Mack around. Now, Greg was our, I believe that Greg was our champion in the open class last year, and he's moved up to the pro class for 2021. He's, I believe, sitting about 9th in the points right now after 2 weeks. So this incident certainly is not going to help his cause as he tries to move up towards the top of the order in the pro class for 2021.
Schwenke's getting a bit of a push there from, I think it's Mitchell Peak, giving him a little bit of nudge to get down that back straight a little quicker to try and catch the group in front of him, playing the team, the friend game here to try and catch up.
And again, what I was going to get into before we saw Greg Mack go around is the way you can tell the 2 classes apart. The pro class drivers are all running with the black mirrors and the black number boards. The open class, red mirrors and red number boards. and also, I believe, a red windshield banner as well. So that should be the way you keep them separated here. Brendan Horan currently running second in the open class. He is 4 cars back from our leader, Josh Soto, in that number 45 machine. And then it is a long way till we get back to the 3rd place car, Dean Dibdahl. Dibdahl currently running, I believe, 17th overall in the number 19 car. And interesting thing about Dean, and I've raced quite a bit with Dean in another, we'll call it a club series. Both he and his father, Dean, a lot of WKA, as we have a driver that's just gone around going out of turn 1. Yeah, Dean, 13 years old. A lot of WKA experience, and I believe he took place in the Road to Indy iRacing League a couple weeks ago at Road America. Did very, very well, finished on the podium, and he's given the CSS a little look here. We may see him join full time.
That'd be great. Yeah, love to see some youth getting out there and making those jumps from WKA up into the world of sports cars and some other things. So it's always very, very cool. Real quick, going back to the Greg Mack incident, a penalty was issued. In fact, okay, that's going to be coming to Tom Raffy for involvement with the incident there involving Greg Mack. So Stewart's right on top of it here in the Ricmotech series. Kind of making sure that everybody, if you're going to be involved in incidents, there are penalties to pay. So black flags being issued there. But out in front, you notice there, as we were talking, Elvis Rankin just laying down laps. Hartley is just pestering the back of John Allen. As we've got a shot here now in a little bit further back in the pack. This, of course, this is the 64 of David Payton, followed closely by Jake Gordson, Brendan Horan, then not too far behind. And they are trying to chase down Jeff Jacobs. This is a pretty tight battle here for 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th.
And here we go. Stepping to the inside now is the number 12 car. That's Jake Gertzman side by side with Patton as they go through the keyhole. And looks like the number 12 car, he's going to take over the position. That is going to be for 9th overall. That'll be 8th in the pro class as they now make their way down the back straight here. But that battle does not appear to be done yet, Larry, as they are still side by side as they come down into 4. The number 46, the number 45 car, Brendan Horn, just kind of sitting back there wondering which lane he should take.
Yeah, he wasn't sure where to go. Jake got a heck of a run for taking that move to going into the keyhole and coming out of there with a pretty good head of steam. I'm very surprised. I actually would have figured that Peyton would have had the better run being on the outside coming out of keyhole, but Jake made it stick all the way down that back straight, and now he's got his eyes set on Jeff Jacobs up in front of him in that Street Survival MX-5.
Yeah, I mean, and the keyhole, you don't see it so much in iRacing, but it is decreasing radius, it is off camber, and if you enter from driver's right from the inside there, you end up getting a lot of push on exit, and somehow he managed to keep up the pace there. It was really a great run through there, well handling car. Now, you know, the thing is, Larry, also is that the pro class here, the setups are open. So maybe kind of antithetical here. The pro class, the setups are open. You can set up the suspension exactly the way you want it, set your camber cast or what have you, whereas the open class has a fixed setup. Every one of these drivers all running with the exact same heights, exact same tire pressures to start with, exact same camber caster, etc. So, you know, you'll find that in some cases in that pro class that the drivers, you know, can set the car up a little bit better for, you know, when the tires might be colder for the long run.
And they get that personal flavor, you get that personal feel if you're in the pro class. But then again, in the open group, which is kind of like the amateur rank versus the pro rank is kind of what's going on here. It makes it easier, lower barrier to entry. It's an easier avenue to entry because you're not trying to battle somebody for setup. You're just kind of given a setup, a baseline, so to speak, whether it's probably not baseline, but you're given a setup that you know works. You don't have to fiddle with it. But if you're going to run in the pro, you're going to run with the top of the top, you're expected to tune your own setup and make it work best for you and best for that track for that day. I think it's a great system that they use here in this series.
Yeah, without a doubt. So we were just watching a little while ago the battle between John Allen and the 101 car, currently running second, and Robert Hartley in the number 3 running third. And even with what appeared to be a little bit of a battle there as Hartley was starting to push Allen, neither one of them losing sight of our leader Elvis Rankin, but the top 3 have really started to separate themselves from the rest of the pack. Let's go back to that battle right now. This is the battle for 9th between Jake Bortson and Dave Patton, and then we've got Brennan Horan is currently running second in the open class, is the third car in that line, and Tony Kernan in the number 7, the 4th car in that line. And now we got side by side Kernan right with the number 13 car.
It's Zach Burke.
Yeah, that's Burke trying to make his way back up after his
Burke's
early
got that run
issues.
coming out of Keyhole. But keep your eyes. These guys are going to go side by side. This is going to be interesting going into China Beach. And right behind them, you've got a Mike Dam who served that penalty, and he's chasing. You can see him right there with that Orion Racing. But these two here with Burke and Moran are just going to be going side by side. Or Kernan, excuse me. Burke and Kernan.
Yeah, and it looks like Burke finally got it done as they came down into turn 4 and up and over the hill at turn 5 at Madness, and things are starting to straighten out there with those cars. But some great battles going on here as we are just about 15 minutes into what is a 75-minute endurance race.
This length of a race makes it interesting because of the fuel strategies. And, you look at out in the front, for example, where Elvis Rankin is just having to do it all by himself. Robert Hartley, sitting in third, who's one of Elvis's teammates there, can probably think about fuel saving a little bit. He can pressure to the back of Allen, who's trying to do everything he can to stay with Rankin, but he could probably sit back there and do a little bit of fuel saving, making his fuel stop a little bit shorter, maybe try and leapfrog ahead of John Allen at the fuel stops.
Yeah, with that, I was going to say, and that's exactly right. And, it certainly helps as well as these cars draft, if you can just stay right at the edge of that draft so that you don't have to, use up a little, as much fuel as the driver ahead of you. Let John Allen kind of pull you down the long straight here. Now, we did talk about how we didn't think that drivers were going to take tires, or at least the drivers up front were going to, but it would not surprise me to see some drivers take some left tires, and probably not right-hand tires, but left tires here as you go and you watch the number of right-hand turns that you have, and especially ones that put a pretty heavy load on the car. We've talked about the keyhole, that off-camber right-hand horseshoe, the carousel, the last turns here. As we see here, our leaders Rankin, Allen, and Hartley now coming into the carousel, and you can see as they enter from the inside corner here and really try to hug that curbing on the end, it really puts a huge load on the left-hand side of the car. So it wouldn't surprise me to see drivers maybe at least halfway back through the pack take tires, more as a confidence thing than anything else. But we'll see. I highly doubt our drivers towards the front of the field will be doing that.
Yeah. This place is definitely those left, especially the left front tire, just takes such a beating around some of these corners around this place. So we'll be interested to see if they do decide to just take that one and not the others. But watching this group here, it's to see right here is Jeff Jacobs going to be holding some of that up. But keep in mind, you got both Zach Burke and Mike Dam, who qualified near the front of this field. Both had to take the drive-through penalties for the issues with the pre-start. And they're both having to fight their way back, currently in 12th and 14th, in the middle of that pack from Jacob, Gertzen, Peyton, Horan. And then you've got Burke, and then you've got Kernan with Mike Dam. They're all mired back there while Rankin, Allen, and Hartley are sitting out here just turning laps in the 35.8, 30. Right now they're doing 35.8s, where that other pack I just mentioned are doing maybe 36.0s, 36.2s. So those guys are losing about a half a second a lap because they're not running clean with the fast guys at the front.
Yeah, and maybe not so surprising, but these three drivers are running very close to their qualifying times here, almost every single lap. Very, very consistent, about anywhere between 2 and 4 tenths separating their fastest laps from their previous laps. But again, as long as they stay all in line here, probably the one driver that's going to be I don't want to say caught out, but you'll see he's kind of off in no man's land right now. Travis Schwenke, who's running 4th, all by himself, does not have a drafting partner. And when it comes time to determine how much fuel you're going to need to get to the end of the race, that may really be an issue for him, because he just doesn't have that drafting help, and he does. And, the only thing that he can do to save fuel is literally
he's got Mitchell Peak coming up right up behind him, though, right
Peak.
About a second behind him. And if Mitchell can get a good run off Keyhole, he'll be right on his tail by the time they come down into 4 the next time through.
Yeah, it's what do you do? Do you try and get back up to the leaders without the draft, or do you lay out just a little bit and basically wait for Peak to get back to you, and essentially give up, possibly run the risk of losing another position?
Yeah, you might run that risk, but at this stage of the race, with only 20 minutes into a 75-minute race, you're not giving up a whole lot. If you think you can work well with Peak, I wouldn't give up that opportunity to work with somebody if you think you can. I think it's a good opportunity for you to maybe make up some time and try to bump draft if you think you can work closely with somebody and trust them to be able to bump drafting is not an easy, it's easy to talk about, not easy to execute. To trust somebody, especially to trust someone going through the corner, to come off of Keyhole, a 10th or 2 off of someone's bumper, and to trust them going down what's not the straightest straightaway in motorsports.
No, not at all. All right, so we're watching the battle right now. Zach Burke, again, trying to make his way up through the field along with Mike Dam. He is going at it with Jeff Jacobs in the number 38 car. Cannot seem to get by that 38, and Burke with a lot of cars ahead of him if he's going to try and get back up to those lead drivers. But they're rounding turn 1 here, and we'll see as he definitely carries a little bit more speed out of turn 1, making the run down towards the Keyhole. He is caught on the outside there. Oh,
that's Mike Dam.
Yeah, Dam. His issues continue as he goes wide on the exit of turn 1. Not uncommon to see drivers turn in just a little bit early underneath the bridge there and run wide, and that has really impacted him as Dam now falls all the way back to 17th overall, 14th.
Zach Berg's got this run now. He gets the run off Keyhole. He's got the inside going into turn 4, and he's going to be able to make that stick. But I tell you what, Jeff Jacobs, after seeing so many of these races here in the Ricmotech series, the one thing you can say, he's very consistent. He's consistent with a very good pace. He's also consistently drives a wide car. Every week we find that he's got a very good pace, but he's always so difficult to pass. So what you just saw there with Zach Burke able to get around him is not an easy thing to do. Zach able to make that stick and make that pass. Yeah, he held him off for a number of laps there. And at that point, with the position that Burke had, there wasn't much that Jacobs could do to contest it. So let him on by, and we'll try to get him on pit strategy as they roll through here. And we're taking a look right now at the number 45 car. That's Brennan Horan. He is currently running 2nd in the open class, and tell you, Dean Dibdahl, he's started to make up ground. Dean now in the number 19 car. He's only 2 cars back. There he is in the black number 19. And another car running wide. That was the number 7 of Tony Kernan, who's going to fall back a little bit in the pack. They're going to go too wide to the Keyhole, and that's never an easy thing to do. Now, as you talked earlier about the way that goes off camber through the exit there, running too wide there, it's just it can be done, but that outside driver kind of gets lost sometimes. Yeah, it gets really hard to hold that line and not run wide by the exit curbing. All right, here we go, side by side into turn number 4, the number 12 car, the number 64 car. That's Jake Gertson and David Patton. And looks like Patton might have the position as they roll down the hill. Hard to pass around here. You've got to have such good positioning. You've really got to be almost up inside of somebody at Keyhole to make it stick down the back straight. But once you get to China Beach and you start going through Madness, if at this point you're back to single file all the way through here through Thunder Valley, and then you're waiting for maybe the front straight to start pressuring them again. All right, so Gertson in the 12. Did hold on, and you could see Patton kind of look into the inside just a little bit as they came through Thunder Valley. Like so many of the straightaways here, Larry, a very short run as you come off that rise
at turn 9 and then make the run down towards Thunder Valley. It's so short. It's very difficult to get a run there, and really most of the straightaways here, except coming out of the keyhole. So Patton is going to have to be content now with sitting back in 9th. That's 8th in the pro class as we go back to our leaders.
Yeah, to leaders, not much has changed here as we're approaching a quarter of the way through the race. Not much here has, almost a third of the way now. Not much has changed at all. Still Rankin, Allen, and Hartley, the 3 of them not separated even by a full second, as they're just kind of nose to tail doing their thing. The wild card of this group is the one with the odd paint job. That is John Allen, as he is not a teammate to the others. And I've heard John Allen say before, at some point during the races, he tends to just get itchy and decide he wants to mix things up. I don't know, with only 3 of them, how long he might be willing to be a little bit more patient. Had there been like 6 of them, he might be less patient.
Well, speaking about impatience, Larry, Zach Burke in the number 13 car, he gets around countryman David Patton. So drop Patton now back to 10th overall, 9th in class, and Zach Burke all over the back of the number 12 car. So we've got the 12 and the 13 battling it out now as they come over the rise at 11, or probably at 10, and you can see how close.
He's right up in there.
Yeah, he's pretty much, and you can see a little whiff of brake smoke as he goes and gets hard on the brakes going into 11 and over towards the carousel, as he now is all over the back of 12, and I'm sure right now Gertzen is probably driving his mirrors quite a bit.
Yeah, which is the first way to drive slow, start driving what's behind you. And right now, Zach Burke is just ready to pounce. Absolutely ready to pounce all over Gertzen, and he's not even going to wait until after the keyhole. He's going to do it on the way in. Yeah,
he's going to do it as they come up now into the keyhole, turn 2, and make their way around, and you can see hugging the curbing all the way around, and as Gertzen ended up pushing wide, you can see it got harder and harder for him to hold the car on exit. Did not lose a lot of ground though as they make their way past the kink here over at turn 3 and heading down towards turn 4. Let's see, Gertzen goes to try and make a move. You'll see now that Burke has had to go and cover just a little bit, and he manages to hold on to the position.
Able to and that's that good run. He's able to get out of there by knowing that he can make that stick going through keyhole. He's able to hold on to it all the way down into 4. As Jeff Jacobs still hanging into the back of this, on the back of David Payton there.
And you probably just saw it pop up on the screen. Chris Thorman, the number 60 car, currently running 11th in the pro class. He is going to have to serve a drive-through penalty. So we'll see him falling back through the pack here soon enough. That should be coming up rather soon. He has a couple laps to go and serve that as we go back to our leaders now. As they continue to stretch things out over the rest of the field. And, we were talking a little bit earlier about Hartley, kind of being out in no man's land. Not any longer. He's got Travis Schwenke pretty much right on his rear bumper, I believe.
Schwenke and Peak?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, he's got Peak just about a second behind him, but he's able to hold Peak just enough to he's not quite fully in the draft. But then again, as you were saying, he doesn't really have anybody to draft, so he can't really go any faster, whereas if the two of them working together, they could almost go a little bit quicker, but they're just fading. When we were talking about that earlier, the gap was about 6 seconds. Now it's to Schwenke, back from Hartley. Now it's about 7 seconds.
7.
Yeah. Well, we've reached that point in the race. We're just about a little beyond a third of the way. Why don't we take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more of the Ricmotech Series live from Mid-Ohio. You're watching the Classic Sprint Series. We'll be right back.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name-brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com. Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com.
All right, and welcome back to the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Classic Sprint Series presented by Performa Elite Texas Graphics. And we're back with our leaders. Doesn't look like much has changed since we went to break. Is Elvis Rankin still holds about a car length lead over both John Allen and Robert Hartley, our top three, as we're just about a half hour into the 75-minute endurance race. Real quick, let's cover the order here. So we've got Rankin, Allen, and Hartley. Travis Schwenke currently running fourth. Mitchell Peak fifth in the pro class. And we go and we take a look at the open class. Josh Soto has maintained his lead. He has a 5-car overall lead over the second place driver in the open class, who is now Dean Dibdahl in the number 19 car, who has gotten around Brennan Horan. So that's your top three. Running fourth, Edgar Sancinelli, who's 17th overall, and Mike Taylor currently running fifth in the open class. He is back 19th overall, again, fifth in class. So good run for Mike.
Yeah, so we were watching a couple of battles there before we went to break. We were keeping an eye on Zach Burke, who had taken that early penalty for the staging the pre-green flag, moving around. He has worked his way back up to 8th, but he's got a long way to go to try and catch up to even Schwenke and Peak, currently in 4th and 5th. But the other one that was penalized early was Mike Dam. And I believe I looked down the list here. I think Mike Dam has now come in for his pit stop. Taking the early stop, probably not a bad strategy, as he'd been stuck behind some train of cars that he's probably a little quicker than. So taking that early stop to try and see what he can do in the long run here to the finish. So we'll see if maybe now that Zach has cleared traffic, Zach Burke, he might do the opposite. He might, with clear traffic in front of him, stay out as long as he can. The interesting thing will be is, what do these top three do? Do they stay as long as they can in this train? I suspect Robert Hartley will, to try and save some fuel. And John Allen has proven so far through 2 rounds, he tends to be the last one to stop. We'll see if Elvis Rankin does the same, or if he's the early stopper of this threesome. But down around that middle pack, Burke leading Gertzen, Payton, Jacobs, Dibdahl, Moran. That whole group is all pretty tight through there, but looks like Burke's just edging a little bit away from Gertzen, Payton, and Jacobs in that group, trying to pull away a little bit to try and not lose the leaders too far. But he's got such a gap to try and catch up to Josh Soto, and then of course to Schwenke, Peak, and Shiflett out in front. He's really put himself in quite a bit of a hole here tonight with that early penalty. It's one of those things. You take a penalty, like, they're very strict here in this league about when those starts. It's from a particular mark A to a particular mark B. That's where the green flag will happen. It's communicated well. If you violate that, there are penalties to pay. Mike Dam paid his, as well did Zach Burke.
Yeah, and as we've seen already, you could get a drive-through penalty for contact, but as these drivers continue on, drivers continue on, if they continue to have incident points throughout the course of the race, you may find that they will actually go and lose championship points, and they may have not only additional drive-through penalties just for these incidents, possibility that they'll have a stop-and-go penalty as well.
Yeah, in Mid-Ohio, from an iRacing perspective now, we get into like incidents and things. I have not found it to be one of the tracks where you really rack up a lot of incidents. There's certainly places out there where you can pick up a lot more, there's a few other places I could think of, but certainly not Mid-Ohio as being one of the ones where you tend to really rack them up. But looking at this, I mentioned that maybe sometimes John Allen gets a little antsy partway through the race. It looks like John Allen has gotten itchy as he's trying to make a move now for the lead on Elvis Rankin going down into 4. Is he going to make it stick? He has so far. Does he hold it now on the inside going into madness? It looks like he has. And we appear to maybe have a new leader. It is John Allen now ahead of Elvis Rankin. See how long this stays in line. He does tend to get itchy. Apparently 33 minutes is the limit for John Allen to stay in line. He didn't want to stay there anymore. He wanted to mix it up before they caught traffic. All right, so while we wait for Mr. Ginsburg, he misses out at just the great moments here as John Allen now has taken that lead over at the 33.5-minute mark. And this group has caught traffic, and that's what John Allen probably wanted to do, was to lead through the traffic instead of trailing through it, as they were going to be fighting their way through, picking it apart. He did not want to be losing that through this group. It's tough to stay in line through some of this traffic. But you watch, they'll be on comms, they'll be on radio saying, hey, leaders coming through, leaders coming through. Try and make sure that's Patrick Preventis, that they're making their way around. Patrick moving over to the side. Next up quickly is going to be Robert Brist. Right there at the keyhole is Rankin's going to be pressuring John Allen. This is where the fight is on. Allen, a little bit of a slip there through the keyhole. Just a little bit wide. Rankin, see if he takes advantage of it down the back straight, or if he just plays it cool. So far, cool. On the inside now. Inside makes it tough to pass, but Allen's still on that outside, which becomes the inside, as 51 Brist is right in the middle of this. Manages to get aside to let the leaders through. Clean racing continues. Man, that is so close to come into that section. They don't call madness for nothing. To go through that section, trying to make a pass, having to back out, but then you've got a back marker as Hartley in the background there, going a couple of tires off, just hanging on to it. Manages to gain it back up just enough, but Rankin is now pressuring the back of John Allen as they come out of the carousel back out onto the front straightaway. As Mr. Ginsburg has rebooted his computer one more time.
I am back again.
You know, I thought, this is great. He's letting me call the lead. As, oh no, Elvis Rankin has spun in turn one. Elvis has gone all the way around. He wasn't the leader for a lap. You had missed it as John Allen had just passed him, but he was sitting right in second. He was pressuring the back of John Allen. Now he's going to be down by an entire straightaway. He's going to slot in, looks like behind Mitchell Peak, just in front of
Just
Tyler
in front
Shiflett,
of Tyler Shiflett and Josh Soto,
to
our open class leader, as he now gets back on track. And yeah, he's going to have to find his way. It looks like Soto's taking the inside lane going into the keyhole. Does not get a great run out. So Elvis Rankin in the #1 car might be able to get a run on him coming down. But now look at this Soto. I don't think he really knows who's right behind him. Soto moves all the way to the inside.
I'm sure he knows exactly who that is, but he doesn't have to give up anything. This is for position. This is no blue flags involved.
All right, and as they come down now into turn 4, and Rankin going the long way around, and we'll see if he can sneak back underneath. You can see little taps of the brake from Josh Soto as they now come down the hill, and still Soto not giving it up.
Our leader in ST Open doesn't want to give up even something to one of the pro rank drivers. Doesn't matter if he happens to be one of the perennial winners in the ST Pro. He doesn't care. He wants to that position in the overall. He's going to try and stick with him. Eventually, Elvis does make it by, but Josh Soto, good for him for hanging with him and not just giving it up.
There you go. So Rankin losing a lot of ground to Tyler Shiflett, but he is sitting now 6th overall after having spun from second as they came out of turn #1 just after, as you mentioned, John Allen had taken the lead. But now, if we go back up and jump to the front here, I believe, well, for a moment here, I think we've got Hartley and Allen dicing it up. Maybe we can get to that battle in a second. And here we go, side by side going into the keyhole. We had John Allen drivers right. We had Robert Hartley in the #3 car drivers left as they came out of turn 1. I believe that at least for the briefest of moments, Robert Hartley had taken the lead. But now this is a battle on, Larry, as they're coming down the back straight.
Well, we know that the outside line here becomes the inside madness. This is how Allen got the lead just a few laps ago, but Hartley backs out of it, leaving Allen where he is. But he's certainly pressuring him now. Though both of these guys were able to stay behind Elvis Rankin for so many laps. These guys do have maybe a little bit extra fuel on board. Rankin's the one that's going to be left out. He's 16 seconds down or so, and he's the one probably carrying the least amount of fuel. He's probably got to take on the most fuel load when he does finally come in for his stop. But he's got work in front of him now. He's still got to get past Tyler Shiflett here, hopefully on this lap to lose the least amount of time. But his race for the win may be over. It may fall to one of these guys here, John Allen and Robert Hartley.
All right, now of course, 3 weeks ago, Rankin came in 4th at Watkins Glen. As I think you probably mentioned, Mike Dam, Zach Burke, and Robert Hartley took the podium. And so, of course, Hartley looking to repeat, but another another race where Rankin lets well, there's a long way to go, but it looks like he may have just let the win slip through his fingers. Now heading down into the pit lane. Let's see. That is that
Soto and Shiflett both.
Yeah, Soto and Shiflett come down. Soto currently your leader in open. Shiflett currently running 5th in the pro class.
That moves Rankin now back up to 4th, but he's a full 15, almost 16 seconds behind our leaders, who he was just with about a lap and a half ago. So he knows he's got a ton of work to do. Well, he's got 30 minutes or so left in this, or 35 minutes left. I just don't know if it's enough, as Hartley now is going to continue to pressure now on the outside going into 4.
Yeah, and so all that fuel savings that those two drivers were able to do for the first 35 minutes or so of this race, well, that's just now completely out the window, but it looks like both of them are going to be affected in similar amounts. So real quick, looks like with Soto's taking to the pit lane, Dean Dibdahl moves up to the lead. In the open class, Brennan Hearn running 2nd, and those two drivers, that is a great battle that's going on as well. We're going to stay up here at the front of the pro class, but Hearn and Dibdahl just a couple car lengths apart the last time I saw them. So we'll hopefully go back and take a look at them in a few moments here as our leaders head down into the carousel.
Yeah, and at this point, Hartley, I think, is just trying to pressure Allen, as he knows that Allen hasn't had the lead at all really until these last 2 laps or so. Now he wants to see what can Allen do with that lead. You know, and the races so far this year, it's been a lot of everyone chasing Rankin, but they've been in packs. And even the race at Road Atlanta was kind of like that. But the race last week at Watkins Glen was a little bit different. Last week you had Zach Burke was extremely fast. Mike Dam was extremely fast. Hartley was in that mix. Those guys were crazy fast last week, but John Allen had a strategy that almost paid off until he ran out of fuel. And Elvis Rankin is now in for his pit stop, pitting earlier than his running mates there, and he's going to be taking some tires by the looks of it. By the way, they look like right side tires.
Yeah, a little surprise there to take the rights. All right, here we go. Going down into turn 4 once again, side by side. John Allen with Robert Hartley, and Hartley gets back in line heading into turn 4. It looks like he wasn't going to push Allen all the way there. Maybe he's content to sit back at least a little while, and maybe put himself in a slightly better position, save himself maybe at least a second or two under pit stops here if he can work off of John Allen's draft for a couple of laps.
I'm just kind of taking a look at some pit times here. Rankin's time through the pit lane pretty quick, but take a look at Mike Dam's time. Mike Dam may not have taken tires. He looks like he's got the quickest time out there. David Payton also with one of the quicker times. Those two guys, those two Canadians, may not have taken tires on their pits. Currently running 11th and 12th. We had talked about Mike Dam and the troubles he was having, not only with the penalty early, but also fighting through traffic. Might have been able to make up a significant chunk of time by not taking tires, but 75-minute race on those tires. We'll see how those tires last at the end of this race.
Yeah, and I was, as we were running through the pit times here, I was looking Josh Soto. Maybe he didn't take any tires. Soto was almost 2 seconds faster through the pits than Elvis Rankin, and is only about a quarter of a second off of him. There we go. There's that battle right now as they come over the crest of the hill at turn 9, and so Soto and Rankin still going at it. Soto gets the position.
Nothing worse than getting by a guy, taking a pit stop, and 2 laps later having him do the same thing, get by him again.
Yeah, exactly. Just cannot shake the guy here. And speaking about not being able to shake the guy, back to John Allen and Robert Hartley as they come over Madness, and they're still going at it. You know, I said that maybe Hartley was going to be content to hopefully build up a little bit of fuel savings over John Allen. That doesn't really appear to be the case.
He's not. No, he's using the pressure to a mistake model here, knowing that there's 8 seconds to the next driver. All it takes is one mistake from John Allen, and the race will fall into Robert Hartley's lap. But maybe he feels he's already saved enough fuel. He can do both. He can pressure him, and he can maybe thinking he can jump him in the fuel stops, which could be coming in the next 10 minutes.
So then the question becomes, do you go and you just follow John Allen into the pits and let the chips fall where they may, or do you risk coming in at a different spot and maybe maybe having to deal with traffic, coming out in an inopportune position.
If I'm Hartley and I really do believe that I've saved more fuel than John Allen, I might try and outlast him.
Yeah.
Just go until you're on fumes and assume that he's going to have to pit one lap before you. And that's what John Allen did last week, or 3 weeks ago at Watkins Glen. Yeah, everybody kept saying, why is he not stopped yet? Why? And he finally came in on fumes, and he came out in front of the pack. He just didn't take enough to make the last half of the last lap and cut himself short. Hartley here, as again, he's pressuring down this back straight. Hartley here could do the same thing. As long as he takes on enough fuel, he could make the undercut work. Or the overcut, I should say. Take a look at Rankin's lap times. He's quick. Mitchell Peak, though, also quick. I believe he took tires. He's running a 35-second lap times. Elvis Rankin, low 36s. Nobody else running that quick right now, though.
No, nobody else anywhere near there. As you mentioned, Peak at basically a 36 flat. And nobody else in that ballpark. All right, looks like Derek Holland has just brought his car down the pit lane. Driving the number 80 car. And he makes his pit stop and heads back out on track. And here we go with Elvis Rankin still trying to get around Soto and sitting right back behind him, Mitchell Peak in the 56.
Yeah, this is not going to be easy because Peak is also extremely fast. He was so tough last week, 3 weeks ago at the Glen. Now he's all over the back of Rankin, and Rankin's just trying to get around Josh Soto, but any door he leaves open by making the wrong move, Peak's going to jump right by him. Rankin's going to have to do this soon if he wants to have a shot, because podium's not completely out of the question here for Elvis. He's just got to start moving along. He's got to make a move here on Soto in order to get there.
All right, heading into the pits, we've got Travis Schrenke and Zach Burke. Both came into the pits seemingly at the same time. They'll drop back through the order, but they were running third and fourth. As we go back to our leaders side by side coming up through madness. And John Allen, you could see, had just the slightest of advantages, was able to cut right across the nose of Robert Hartley.
He is not trying to pass him because he easily could have made that stick. Hartley wanted to, because he had a nose slightly in front, and we've seen it before. If you're on the outside nose in front, you can carry speed around 4 and be on the inside for 5. Hartley backed out. So I think Hartley could have, if he really wanted to stick that move. But at this stage of the race, if you really feel like you can make the pass in the fuel stop, why try
would you exactly? Why would you want to be in the front? And there he comes.
He's undercutting. If he can take less fuel, he's going to do this in the pits now. He's not going to outlast Allen. He's going to come in first.
All right, so there you go. The number 3 car of Robert Hartley takes to the pit lane for what should be his only pit stop of the race.
And Mitchell Peak making the move on Elvis Rankin. We were just saying, if Elvis leaves the door open, trying to get around Josh Soto, Mitchell Peak will pounce, and he just did.
So there we go, moving up now in the 10th overall, 9th in the Pro Class. Mitchell Peak in the number 56 car, so move Rankin back 1 position to 11th overall. Again, Rankin was our pole sitter today. And, you have to watch, Rankin's going to have to sit there and watch Tyler Shiflett in the number 24 car. He's just kind of been hanging along in that group of 4 the entire time. And it looks like he's starting to get a little racy as well. As Soto gets pushed wide coming through the carousel. And we'll see if he can hold on against the number 56 car of Peak. And looks like he does, as that whole train now starts to make their way up through the battle here, coming up on looks like the 43 car.
Take a look here where Hartley came back out. Hartley currently in 4th, or 5th, I guess. He came back out in 5th. Ready for the timer boards here to all get in sync. Pit time about 25 seconds. Does look like he did take on tires. Comparable pit time to Rankin, which makes sense. Teammates there, similar strategies. As Peak, again, looks like he might have the advantage, but Rankin trying to stay on the inside.
And, of course, that'll put him to the outside as they roll up the hill into turn 5.
He's going to hold it. Look at that. Holding it through the top of 5. and now to the S's. Rankin able to make that. I have not seen that move work. Rankin makes it happen. Wow.
Yeah, that was a great move by Elvis Rankin as he came over the crest of madness and managed to hold the line and actually make a little bit more ground. He pinched Peak to the inside just a little bit, and it was really all he needed.
That was brilliant. I've not seen anybody make that work. Typically, if you're on that outside, you're not able to. But because, like you said, he was able to keep Peak all the way down to the inside and not let him get a good run there coming down the crest of madness. Elvis was able to carry better speed, and now he's able to get back at the action of trying to hold Soto, and that's what he's going to do now. Even try to pass him in one.
Yeah, try to see if he can come underneath him in one, and he will get the job done. Just held the 7 out just long enough, or the 0-7, pardon me. And so now move Elvis Rankin up to 6th overall.
And for Elvis, turn 1 is where the scene of the crime of his whole night kind of unraveled just about 15 minutes ago.
Oh, a little bit of contact there between Peak and Soto as they roll through. Soto was to the outside, tried to keep Peak all the way to the inside, and a little tap there as they are still going at it. And Soto not giving that 56 car any room as they roll down towards turn 4.
This is tight, close racing. They're going to do this again. Let's see if Soto is able to do the same thing. Nope, Peak is going to make sure he shuts that door and stays with Rankin. It's so tight there. Good racing, even though there's a little bit of contact there on the keyhole, but it doesn't look like a lot of damage on either side. It's just good, clean racing.
All right, so as we go through, interesting to note, sitting at the top of the open class still, Dean Dibdahl and Brennan Horn. Both of those drivers have just now come into the pit lane. And contact as Dean Dibdahl tries to get to his pit stall. Goes right into the side of the 45 of Brennan Horn. We'll have to see how the stewards look upon that, as that could have been the bang for the least bang for the buck, as they're trying to hold off Soto for the lead in the open class.
I think our stewards will be looking at that. We're still kind of waiting. It looks like the very few drivers have not pit yet. One of them, as we talked about earlier, is John Allen. Tends to be one of the last ones to stop. I thought maybe Hartley would try and outlast him, but Hartley came in. John Allen has not.
Yeah, so the 101 car continues, and now John Allen comes down into the pit lane. So we'll see here as he finds his way to the pit stall whether or not he can maintain that lead over Hartley. The margin right now is about 40 seconds. So it's really close. Very close with the transit time.
If Hartley was able to get out and have clean traffic in front of him, Hartley has a really good shot to maintain this lead, or to get the lead back, I should say, ahead of Allen. If not, it's going to be one heck of a sprint here for the next 23 minutes before the end of this race.
All right, we're coming up on just about 20 seconds on that pit stop for John Allen. 22.97, and he's going to start making his way down the pit lane. And John Allen is on the apron there and retakes the lead over Robert Hartley. So
it's not even close.
Yeah, there's Hartley now just coming through turn 1, and Hartley now has 3 cars that he's going to have to work his way around just to get back up to our leader, John Allen.
I'll tell you what, it was just in straight up pit lane time. I mean, their pit stops themselves, Allen was about a second or two quicker, but down the pit lane and out, Allen just generally quicker. Yeah. And now you look at that gap, he's 3.5 seconds clear. I just hope that Allen has taken on enough fuel.
Exactly.
Because we know that he didn't last week. I'm sure this week he did better calculations than what he had done at the Glen. Now he's just got to keep his nose clean, keep his mirrors down, and just worry about what's in front of him on this track, not so much of what's going on behind him.
Yeah, so that pit stop almost 2 full seconds faster than Robert Hartley. And and again, the challenge for Hartley is that he's got 3 drivers between he and our leader. But John Allen, as he came through. Oh, John Allen, he has an issue over at turn number 9, and he has lost pace and it is now,
lost
just
the
as we were
lead.
talking about the number 3 of Hartley having to work his way through traffic.
We have a race on our hands, boys and girls.
Robert Hartley is your new leader. Allen got loose coming through turn 9. That big rise, the car gets unweighted through there just before Thunder Valley, and we have a new leader. It is Robert Hartley in the number 3 car. John Allen going to have to battle back. Had almost a 2.5 second advantage, and now it is gone.
Wow, just like that. And that's the nature of the beast here with Mid-Ohio. It will bite you. It is such a challenging track. Those little ups and downs, the little roller coaster-esque rises that this place offers, it is extremely difficult. Even on your 35th trip around the track, you can still make something as simple a mistake. And I know John Allen's put a lot of time in this track in both the sim world and the real world. He owns, he runs Spec Miata in the real world. Not that that's a knock against him. That's actually a good thing in his favor. We'll try and get you a replay for that here in just a moment.
Yeah, let's take a look here as he comes through 8, and as he rolls up over the hill, you can see the rear end of the car get loose. Has a little bit of a tank slapper there, and it just takes so much time for him to get back underway. Robert Hartley, right in that mix of traffic that was behind our former leader, and he just drives right on by.
Hartley, just a man on the spot, seeing what's in front of him, and sometimes luck goes in your favor, and if you're John Allen, sometimes luck goes against you. But the race is not over. Allen, though, just has to stay in the draft. He doesn't want to lose that. He's got work to do, but still 20 minutes or so left in this race. Plenty of time to overcome the second gap, but Allen seems to be a little shaken from this.
Yeah, he's had that last time by a little bit off the pace, about 2/10 off of our leader's times as he tries to get things back underway. We're following that battle right once again with Mitchell Peak and Josh Soto. Soto gets back into the lead in the open class. Next driver in line is Dean Dibdahl, who I believe now is sitting pretty far back in the order. Dibdahl sitting back in 20. Well, actually, I think Dibdahl actually had to serve a penalty from the looks of it. Horan is currently running second in class, 13th overall.
Yeah, this battle here that we're watching of Peak, Soto, and Shiflett is just a great battle. All three of these guys. Yeah. Remember at one point you had Elvis Rankin in this mix. Elvis has just put the pedal to the metal. Now Elvis has his eyes set on Travis Schwenke out front, but these three have not let up. They are still doing a lot of door banging, so to speak. Not a lot of actual contact with that, but they are definitely a lot of side-by-sides, pressure from all around. And even Shiflett here is just sort of biding his time and popping a few cones there in the background at the kinks.
He gets that same cone every single lap. It's like we have a corner worker that goes and sets it back up for him each time they go by. But now running wide is Soto coming through turn 4, and the 56 car of Mitchell Peak gets on by, and now let's take a look. The number 24 Shiflett had a little bit of an issue there coming through Madness for a moment there.
I think he was going to try and get around Soto, but then realized, nah, Soto's got too much of a run, but he kind of wanted to take the same thing that Peak did.
Yeah, but Shiflett, I mean, he's been there. He's been in that pack the entire time. We just haven't seen him ready to make the move.
Not as aggressive. Peak is clearly the aggressor in this threesome, but we've seen Soto be the defender and a very good one at that. So now it's roles of reverse. Soto's got to be the aggressor to get that spot back.
Yeah, and kind of stalking right back behind that group is Zach Burke in the number 13 car. We'll just have to see if he can make a move. But now here we go, back to the lead, and Robert Hartley and John Allen. And Allen's making up a little bit of ground now.
It helps that he did a 35.2 to try and make up some ground. Remember, at one point he was 1.2. He's gained up a half a second on that last lap alone. Yeah, so Allen, whatever he had going on, he's able to shake that off and say, all right, look, I got 20 minutes left. Let's buckle down, put a few good corners together, and make this work. And he's got himself in the draft range. We have a battle on our hands for the lead here in the Classic Sprint Series.
All right, and as they roll up over the top of Madness, John Allen, as you mentioned, kind of just about the edge of the draft there on that long back straightaway and the longest straightaway at Mid-Ohio, and he's definitely closing things down, and with just about a little bit more than 15 minutes left to go in this race. Definitely plenty of time for him, but let's jump back into the battle that we've been watching for so long. The battle for 5th overall with Mitchell Peak in the 56, Josh Soto and Tyler Shiflett. And like I said, let's add Zach Burke into that
You
mix
mentioned
as
it,
well.
yes. Zach Burke is right there on the back of Tyler Shiflett.
Yeah, he made up. Oh, and running wide is the number 56 car of Mitchell Peak. Let's see if he can gather it back up, and he does. Peak
and Burke are actually teammates, bookending this little battle.
Yeah. And it's surprising to watch as Peak went off there over by turn 9 to just keep his foot in it, and didn't seem to give up any ground at all to Soto. And if anything, I think Soto may have let out of the throttle just a little bit to give Peak just that slightest opportunity to gather things up.
Some defensive driving going on here. Yes, you're going to go 3 wide into the keyhole?
Yeah, not if you want to stay on track. Let's take a look here as the 13 of Peak has to take the long way around, and he manages to keep things on track, but that is probably the one thing that as Mitchell Peak looks into his rearview mirror that he likes to see, as he's starting to stretch things out just a little bit on Josh
But his
Soto.
teammate Zach Burke back there is saying, "Hey Mitch, wait for don't get too far away from me. I'd like to catch up to you if I can." These guys were so quick. These two were part of the pack at the front of the race at the Glen 3 weeks ago. Absolutely setting the pace up there, so we know that they can work well together if they can team up.
All right, and here we go back for the battle for the lead with Robert Hartley in the number 3, John Allen in the 101 car, and Allen had gotten right back up to the rear bumper of our leaders. They came through turn 9 and into Thunder Valley, and at this point, as both of these drivers have had their pit stops, and they don't have Travis Schwenke, who's currently running 3rd, anywhere near them, I think it may be go time for these two drivers, and we'll have to see if John Allen is content to sit where he is, or if he's going to start pressing the matter, because he is right up to the rear bumper of our leader.
So just a little bit of history here for the Ricmotech Classic Sprint Series. From the ST Pro class, John Allen has won this class 3 times. He won Season 2, Season 3, and Season 13. Robert Hartley has won this class, I'm not sure I could count, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th season, and the 15th season. So between them, these guys have got a whole pack full of championships in ST Pro, and putting on quite a show here, as one of these two should be able to come home the victory tonight, but it's going to be a long season still. But these guys are right in the hunt, of course, with Elvis Rankin, who is the defending champ from last season. And you've got other former champs in this race. Travis Schwenke has won the championship before. He's currently running 3rd. So you've got some really fast drivers, a lot of history here in the ST Pro ranks of the Classic Sprint Series, and these two at the front are 2 of the winningest in the history of this series.
There you go, and as you were talking, we have John Allen, who's taken over the point from Robert Hartley, and that last time by Allen about 0.2 of a second faster. He's definitely carrying the pace. I guess the question is also, does he maybe have a little bit less fuel in the car at this point? He was the later of the 2 to pit, and perhaps with a slightly lighter load, he might be able to carry a little bit more pace, but I think as long as Hartley's hanging right in the draft, that may not matter all that much. As they're now side by side going into the keyhole, Hartley to the inside, John Allen getting pushed a little bit wide, and there you go. I don't want to say our new leader quite yet. Let's wait let's wait until we get down to turn four and into madness, as they are side by side. You'll have Hartley with the position going into turn 4 at the end of the straight, but John Allen, if he can keep up the position, you'll see now Allen moving all the way driver's left to open things up to see to hopefully have position coming up the hill into turn 5. But these two drivers, watch this battle as they are now again side by side. The track is going to switch back over to the right.
He's not giving up at all. Hartley's going to try to do what Rankin did, but Hartley not able to make it stick entirely. Just hung on there a little bit longer than I would have thought, but in the end, Allen able to make it work. You'll notice there as they came down into China Beach, Allen dove left to get a much better run up the short hill. may have helped him a little bit, just enough to get the nose ahead and be able to hold it around the crest of Madness. But man, that was close.
Yeah, I mean, and it's all a question of racecraft. That it was pretty clear that when Allen did make that move all the way to driver's left to the curbing, Hartley stayed all the way to the inside, and it really impacted and compromised the speed that he was going to be able to carry through turn 4 over by China Beach and up the hill. That if he'd known that Allen was going to move over, he probably could have done that himself and opened up the corner just a little bit. We'll have to see if he does it this next time by.
That's one of those times where in iRacing in particular, I kind of wish I had a VR setup, because I'd love to be able to peek over and see if the guy next to me does that move. Because if you're on a single screen or even a triple screen, you can't see that guy taking that move and going that way.
Right.
One of those things where in real life you can always do that peek over and see where he is. That's where VR in the sim world is so helpful.
Well, and this time the order is, well, not the order, but the positions are reversed, and we've got Robert Hartley to driver's left. We've got John Allen not necessarily trapped, but to the inside, and I would suspect that Allen is going to probably try to move over as far to the left as he can, and he does a little bit more than mid-track, as he now is to the inside driver's left as they cross over the top of Madness, but he has been able to make that stick as they roll through and head into the S's now here at Mid-Ohio. And as they do, I'm sure you see see exactly what I see, Larry, and everybody at home does as well. They're coming up on some slower traffic.
Yes, they are. So the traffic, as we've seen already, has played a part of this. But notice how they're taking turns, taking the left side and the right side lanes, coming out of the keyhole, down the back straight. Maybe each one's deciding which one they prefer. We've seen each lane work. We've seen a driver able to make each side work for them. But as it comes down to the last lap or two, they're going to have to make that call. Where do they want to be coming out of one that sets up the keyhole, that sets up the run down into 4? Because really, that's how this track plays out. This whole place is so connected that you really do have to make your move in 1 to decide how do you want to eventually make the pass going into 4.
There you go. And Devin Roger, the driver of the number 91 car, he pulled all the way over driver's left to let our leaders by, and they are once again side by side as they come up the straight over towards the keyhole. On the brakes just a little bit later is the number 3 of Hartley, but he was trapped to the outside and does not seem to get quite as good a run as John Allen, who now is going to get a little defensive, stay to the center as much as possible. But
interesting.
Yeah,
he's going to give him the inside here.
Yeah, let's
Allen
see what happens.
does seem to prefer the outside down here going into China Beach.
And there we go. Allen moving all the way driver's left. You could see it from the rear there, as Hartley has to stay all the way to the inside. And once again, not a great run up the hill as John Allen is able to drive right underneath him and set things up. But Hartley not done yet.
Hartley closer to making a stick this time, but Hartley caught a lot of curb there in 4. I think if he had caught less curb, he might have kept the car more stable, maybe had a better shot to hold that crest of the hill there in 5. So maybe picking up a little bit of learned knowledge there on this lap, with just a handful of laps to go. But it clearly looks like Allen, given the choice, will take the outside line going down back straight down into 4.
Yeah, as long as, I mean, if he is certain that that Hartley isn't going to open up that corner any, there is no harm, no foul in moving all the way out there and keeping drivers left, because it's a safe place for Allen to be.
Notice as they make their way around 1, if this happens again, and Hartley goes left, look how little room that John Allen, the last time by, left Hartley on that left-hand side between the grass and the green car. This time Hartley's going to go right.
Yeah, he's going to go underneath and force Allen all the way to the outside. Now, Allen has been a little bit later on the brakes, but you'll see here he's on the outside lane and has to carry a lot more speed because he's got a lot more distance to run. But here you go. Once again, John Allen picking the outside lane. And I think, again, kind of content to let Hartley repeat things over and over and over again as they...
See, Hartley doesn't use as much curb this time. Got a better line. He's got nose ahead, but a lot more curb still.
Yeah, still doing it, and just really making it a little bit tougher for him than it needs to be. But a little bit further up beside Allen this time by, as they come now through 6 and in the 7. But John Allen manages to make it stick. Now, here's something, Larry, that I've been watching lap after lap, and this time not so bad, but John Allen, who we know had that issue with oversteer coming through turn 9, that big rising turn right there. The last couple of laps I've watched him, He has been running that left rear tire about half the way into the dirt over the entrance curving driver's left, and I don't know if he's if that right rear, or pardon me, left rear is starting to wear on him a little bit. But we should watch that because he's not giving himself a lot of margin for error there.
Yeah, and that's, if he's already had an incident there once, we know that it's possible he could have an issue later in this race. So I'll be interested to see at the end of this race, is Hartley setting up Allen so on the last lap, instead of letting him have the outside he's been comfortable with, does Hartley force Allen to the inside where he hasn't had as many looks? Because that's where I would, if you see a guy go 7 out of 8 times to the outside, and suddenly you have a chance to give a guy a line, give him the one that he hasn't seen most often.
And now watch this as Allen, well, for a moment there, as they came through the kink, once again, ends up giving Hartley the position coming in. For a moment there, it looked like he might have tried to force Hartley to the inside, and Hartley once again grabbing a whole bunch of curbing there. That can't be good for his pace up the hill. And Allen manages to hold him off one more time as they continue to come through some of our slower traffic.
And that could also, you get down to this last couple of laps here, as we've got just about 5 minutes to go in this race. Should be right around 3 laps or so, 3, maybe a 4th lap, depending on where it actually ends up. And you start wondering, are they going to catch a lap car on the back straight on the last lap, which could throw all strategy out the window.
All right, as they come now down onto the front straight, once again, John Allen leading here on lap number 44. And you said it, Larry, we thought this was going to go probably right around 47 laps, and that's how it's looking, as we have now just a couple ticks under 5 minutes left to go in this 75 minute barn burner. And now once again, Hartley coming down to the inside, going into the keyhole, not quite close enough, gets back in line.
Let's see which way Hartley goes. Does Hartley continue to let Allen dictate who gets which line down this straight, or does Hartley decide for himself which way he wants to go? Obviously, Allen, the lead car, gets first choice. Allen again going left.
Yeah, except this time he's going to take the outside. He wasn't quite close enough, and I think Allen decided that he was going to have to defend. So Allen now coming down center of track, but has about a car length up on our second place runner, the number 3 car of Robert Hartley, as they roll over and through madness. And John Allen, that was probably over the last 6 laps or so, probably the easiest John Allen has had it going down into turn 4.
It might have been. I just don't think Hartley got the run that he wanted to get there. But again, a couple laps to go. The other thing to think about is I'm watching the timer as we work lap 44. We might have 3 full laps to go. It's going to be very, very close whether or not we get that extra lap. And if we do, did everyone take the right amount of fuel? Because it's going to be, I've seen these races come down, as we talked about. John Allen had the issue last week, ran out of fuel on the last lap. So did you calculate enough to catch 1 extra lap as we come across the stripe here at the 1:11:45 mark for a 1:15 race? It's going to be extremely close to whether or not we need that 1 extra lap. Could be within about 5 seconds of needing an extra lap.
And now once again coming down towards the keyhole, is Hartley close enough? Yeah, he's right up beside John Allen. And Allen's going to take the long way around. And now let's see what Hartley does. Does he dictate the line? Does he move inside driver's right to protect as they go past the kink? Or does he let the car drift out and let Allen take the center lane?
He is. He's going to give Allen if he wants, and Allen's going to stay behind though. So now what if Allen now is setting up to try and make a last lap pass, thinking maybe they might get a white flag next time by, but I have a feeling he might not.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very close, whether we get the 2 laps or whether we get the 1 lap. And as they come over the crest here and through the S's, Allen about a car length off, takes a little bit of grass at the apex. That doesn't hurt that car any. That's an unloaded tire there as they come through Thunder Valley. And yeah, we're going to be probably right around, what, about a minute?
Lap times are at a minute 36, so
it's going to be close.
If you're
it's going to
sitting
be
at
within around 3 or 4 seconds whether they get one
that's
more
what I'm
lap.
saying. I think we've got 2 laps to go.
Yeah.
Yes, we're going to see 2 laps to go, so that extra lap is going to happen. So if they didn't take enough fuel, it's going to show itself up. So right now, if you're John Allen or if you're Hartley and you know you didn't take enough fuel, you are really nervous. But if you know you took enough, now it's time to really push the pace.
Yeah, but Allen now, he is a full 2 car lengths back from our leader as they come into the keyhole. Let's see if he can make that up under the draft, but I fear as they come down into turn 4, Larry, probably not going to be close. But again, he should have one more lap in order to get things figured out.
He should get one more shot. And again, he might just be biding his time back here and thinking, we'll just do it on the last lap. But I'm starting to worry if maybe he's fuel saving a little bit to try and make it to the end. Looking at this gap falling a little bit. Because he's been pressuring. He's been 2 tenths, 3 tenths, and all of a sudden he's at 7 tenths.
7, yeah. He laid back quite a bit that last time by, and I think that may be, and he continues to fall off the pace here, and I think that may be the case. I think John Allen is a little worried about making it to the end of this race.
Yeah, I think so, and he might be running out of fuel right about now.
Now remember, Allen came in for his pit stop. Yeah, he's done. Allen came in for his pit stop about 5 minutes after our leader Hartley, and his pit stop was about 2 seconds shorter. But yeah, you can see now he's just coasting.
Yep, he's out, and he's got a whole lap to go, as that should be your white flag. 1 lap remaining, and for John Allen, it's going to be about 3 miles too short for his fuel load, as he is not going to make it around again.
And he's
still moving, but
that's 2 race weekends or 2 races in a row for John Allen.
And he's got Travis Schwenke 4 seconds behind him, and he's got Elvis Rankin not far back. So for Allen, if he can't make this around, he's going to fall a long, long ways down this order.
And there is our current 3rd place runner, Travis Schwenke, in the number 16 car. And you can see the gap from John Allen to Schwenke, and then from Schwenke, as you mentioned, back to Rankin, who was our pole sitter today. And yeah, here it comes, and Allen, a sitting duck, it appears.
Suddenly taking the whole track in 5th gear just to try and get around on fumes.
As our leader, for the very last time, and for actually the first time today, all by himself, as he comes through the S's here at Mid-Ohio. He now only has 1/2 of this 2.25-mile course left to run here after 75 minutes.
What a fantastic race for Robert Hartley. He, the opening segment, he was just clean, stayed back in 3rd, did the fuel save, was super clean, and then when it was just he and Allen, he did all the pressuring to Allen, tried to force him an error, came in under his own fuel stop and just waited for his moments, was ready for a strategy, took on enough fuel, and now it all pays off.
All right, and so he crosses the line, and taking the win is Robert Hartley. John Allen looks like he's going to be able to hold off Travis Schwenke. He will finish 2nd, and then Elvis Rankin will finish 4th. Let's see, waiting for Zach Burke, who in the number 13 car should be the next in line, and Zach Burke will finish 5th. And then it's a question of, we'll take a look here. We're now with Josh Soto in the 07 car. He is currently your leader in the open class, but he's got Horan in the number 45 car pressuring him. That's Brendan Horan also in the open class. That is a battle for the lead as they come into the carousel for the very last time. And right behind them, looks like we've got some more of our open class drivers here as the red mirrors. There you go, Josh Soto takes the win. Horan will finish 2nd in the 45 car, and then coming across the line is, I believe, the number 70. Let's see,
Edgar Sancinelli.
Yeah, Edgar Sancinelli will finish in 3rd.
That should be your podium there in ST Open.
All right. Well, while we and then here we go with Dean Dibdahl, who will be the next. Now, Dean was all the way up in the lead, of course, had those issues on the pit lane. He comes home now in 4th.
All right.
Here we go. All right, so while we wait for the rest of our drivers to cross the line, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back with the interviews of our podiums. You are listening to the Classic Sprint Series from Extreme Motorsports and Ricmotech, presented by Performa Elite Texas Graphics. We'll be right back.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com. Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com.
And we're back with the finish here of round 3, the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Classic Sprint Series, presented by Performa Elite Texas Graphics. And Larry, what a great battle. You know, we were expecting this from the very beginning, and for 75 minutes, it was not a disappointment.
That was just spectacular racing. It was great strategy watching a lot of this side by side. But I tell you what, this place comes back to bite you. We had a lot of our front runners struggle. We had a lot of struggles for some penalties assessed, but then we had struggles like Elvis Rankin leading this race, was right in that mix. Struggle with turn 1, those tall curves get you sliding, and he was out of this race. But it came down to Hartley, it came down to Allen, and at the end of the day, Hartley had the great strategy and the great drive to come home with the victory, and Allen just enough fuel to come home in second.
All right, so as you can see here, taking the win today was Robert Hartley with John Allen second. Travis Schwenke finishes on the last step of the podium in the open class, with Elvis Rankin, our pole sitter today, finishing 4th, Zach Burke 5th, Mitchell Peak 6th, Mike Dam, Tyler Shiflett, David Patton, and Jeff Jacobs rounding out the top 10. And again, that was in our pro class. If we take a look at the open class, Josh Soto took the win today with Vernon Horn only a half second back, and that looked like a real tight battle, closed up a heck of a lot with just a few laps to go. Edgar Sancinelli, 12 seconds back, finishes on the last step of the podium. Dean Dibdahl, all 13 years of Dean Dibdahl, definitely a driver you're going to want to watch in the future. He finishes in 4th, Jeff Cranston 5th, then Michael Key, Mike Taylor, Derek Holland, Greg Brockway, and Nick Parsegano finishes in 10th position. That rounds out the top 10 in the ST Open class.
All right, so I think we'll do talk to a couple of our drivers. Why don't we start with our second place driver before we get to our winner? So tonight we'll take a few minutes here to talk to John Allen, who finished second and was leading that race for quite a bit, leading and then in second and back and leading there as we wound the race down. John Allen, congratulations on the second place finish tonight. I was timing it tonight. You and I have talked in interviews before about your itchiness and your antsiness to just not like lead follow forever. I think it was 33 minutes and 30 seconds tonight before you got the the itch to want to take the lead. Walk me through that middle part of the race where you decided it was time to mix it up.
Well, I guess it plays a lot to have this be a home track in real life. So you've done a lot of defending, attacking, pretty much know every line here very well, just from having run more laps here than anywhere else. And So, the ability to kind of defend on either side in a couple different places against Rob was um, well practiced. And I had I not made the mistake, well, it didn't matter. The mistake I'm making seems like every round this season is fuel, and I think we honestly had more race pace than I expected us to have. So we snuck one more lap out than I thought we would, and that's my own fault. At least this time I recognized it soon enough and kind of ate it and to my second by lifting enough to keep it, as opposed to trying to drive it running out and getting passed by 20 cars.
We were speculating who's going to get caught out by that clock winding down just a little bit, not fast enough for you, it seemed, there at the end. But it was pretty obvious that you recognized that. We saw the leads start to drop, to grow and grow and grow for Rob, and you fading back. But I do want to know, as we're watching the last 15, 20 laps or so, you seem to really like the outside line going down that back straight into China Beach, don't you?
I do. I think you can hold more speed there, and it's an awkward inside curb, so it has to run that. It's not a smooth curb. It's got a little hitch in it and a bump in it. So to keep someone pinched down there, it's a really hard line to run. Plus, it winds up being outside of a super sharp turn, where the car gets light over Madness there. So I do prefer to run it there. You can't defend it easy by just giving it to somebody. So I just kept doing middle track runs and let Rob pick the side he wanted to be on. And if he picked the outside, I tried to outbrake him and just get back in front of him before Madness. And if he picked the inside, I tried to run that rail. So it's a shame. It worked well every time, but he kept experimenting and trying new things too. And he was keeping a nose in a few turns longer by the end from what he had learned. And really wish we could have raced that out. And I had gotten those couple more drops of fuel in there, but glad to stay on the podium despite the mistake.
It was amazing to watch. I loved having a front row seat for it. The battle that you and Rob just had, I wish we could watch that every week. In fact, we will in 3 more weeks. We'll get to watch the next round of it. So I'm really glad that you guys got to play for 73 minutes of it until fuel was running low.
Yeah. It's fun no matter how long it lasts, and I'm glad that to be that close in proximity that much, it's still I think I get my 0 incident bonus point. So I'll take the small victories.
Yeah, no, it was a good finish for you tonight, and a half a lap further than you finished last round. So that's always a good thing.
still tender, yeah.
So, well, congratulations on the finish tonight, and we will see you in a couple of weeks for the next round.
Sounds great. Look forward to it.
Thanks, Sean. All right, let's bring in our winner of the ST Pro, Rob Hartley. Rob, congratulations on the win tonight. Walk me through a little bit of those closing laps, as you had quite the battle going with John. Hey, Rob, can you hear me all right?
Yeah,
I can hear. Hey, so walk me through the last couple laps there. Your battle with John was winding down, and you guys were playing the chess match down that back straight. And what's going through your mind as you're trying to figure out where you want to be on the closing laps?
Yeah, John is really good at this track. So, I was trying everything just to keep my nose in there and keep a run going, and it always bogged down, and he'd get the momentum back. But and he kept me on my toes there until the end, and he'd come over the radio with like 2 to go and said, "I think I'm gonna be short of fuel." And I was like, "Oh no!" I was looking forward to them last 2 laps we was gonna battle there.
Yeah, we're all looking forward to that, and but it was great for like I just told him, about 73 minutes of some of the best racing we've seen for a 75-minute race. But congratulations to you. I mean, the race you ran to keep clean for the opening section, and then to be able to come in early. We actually was thinking that maybe you would stay out there for a fuel stop with John. You decided to pit early. Was there a strategy to that?
Yeah, I was gonna try to jump him, but it didn't work, of course, because he took 2 less of fuel. But when he come out the pits, he had like a 4-second gap, and I was like, man, I really got to hustle. But my tires were warm and his was cold, and then he got a little sideways there, and I was able to pass him 3 wide and tried to break him, but I just couldn't. I was real close to breaking him though, but John hung in there and his tires warmed up and the battle was on.
Absolutely, yeah, and it was one heck of a battle. I think you guys put on some of the best battles every single week. It was great to see you guys this week again, right up to the end. Fuel always comes into play, but that's part of this series, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. Every week, everybody's crunching in fuel numbers.
It comes down to it, because had he just taken a splash more, who knows where it would have ended up. But at the end of the day, you took the correct splash and come up victorious on this one. So congratulations for that.
I got to say thanks to Mike Dam on that one. Give me the fuel number.
It's good to have teammates to help
That's
you out
right.
with those things. Absolutely. Anybody else besides Mike you'd like to thank for the victory tonight?
Just all the team. I know they worked hard on the setup. I haven't had much time to get in, and they always helpful as they can be. So they helped me out a lot this round.
Yeah, you guys got a good solid team there, and always working together really well. So congratulations on the victory tonight. We'll see you again in a couple of weeks.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Rob. All right, let's bring in. We've got our top two here in the ST Open. Let's start with Brennan, who finished second in ST Open. Brennan Horan. We've got him in here. Hey, Brennan, how are you doing tonight?
Hey, not bad, guys.
A podium finish for you there in the ST Open group. Walk me through some of that very busy night racing here tonight at Mid-Ohio.
Yeah, it really was quite hectic, wasn't it? I got, it's so nice to drive alone, but it's also really fast to drive in a group. But it's not fast when you drive in a group when you're, trying to make moves on people like that. And yeah, it was just a hectic race altogether. I don't know what else to say.
Well, at the end of the race there, you find yourself right there with Josh for the lead in ST Open. Was there an opportunity you were thinking maybe you could make that move and take the victory in the class?
In another series, I had the same exact situation, and 1 second behind with 1 lap to go, and I managed to make the move, and I thought I was going to make it again tonight, but I just didn't. Josh is just a really quick driver, and there's no catching him.
Yeah, well, you definitely made up the pace. You got right there in the mix, and as you said, sometimes surviving a busy night like this is for a podium is well worth the finish. So, congratulations on the second place in ST Open tonight, and looking forward to seeing you a couple of weeks down the road.
Thanks a lot, guys. See you.
Thanks, Brendan. Let's bring in that winner of ST Open, Josh Soto. Josh, another victory here tonight in ST Open. Congratulations on that. And you were really mixing it up with quite a group tonight. At one point, we see you mixing it up with, you had Zach Burke and Mitchell Peak, and you had Elvis Rankin. And at the end, you had your ST Open nearest competitor right there on your tail. You had one heck of an exciting night.
Yeah, it was an amazing race up there with Zach Burke and Mitchell Peak and everything. Yeah, at the end, I got I still had a little bit of fuel complications with the like fuel management and everything. But yeah, it was a great race between the whole race or whatever.
Yeah, unbelievable. We kept flashing to you, and at one point, just before the fuel stops, you had Elvis who had just spun all of a sudden on your tail, and he's making extremely brave moves to try and get around you. You guys both come into the pit stops, and you came out ahead of him. And for a couple laps, he was not able to get around you. You drive one heck of a wide car, don't you?
Oh yeah, try to keep the car as wide as possible without causing any issues with other drivers.
But it was clean racing, wasn't it? I didn't see anything that was there was no blocking or anything. But it's just some of the most amazing racing, like you mentioned with Zach and Mitchell and Elvis. Really great racing tonight. This track seems to be good for that, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's a very good track. It was actually my first time on this track. So it was a bit difficult trying to learn it at first, but so we're able to get the job done. Oh yeah, and Zach and them they're really great racers, really fast.
And well, you showed you've got the same pace as they do as well. So the good qualifying position tonight. It's tough to see right there at the end with the fuel loads kind of trickling down, but still able to come home victorious here in the ST Open. So congratulations for that victory. And anybody tonight you'd like to thank for that win?
I'd like to thank my mom and my dad, my friends, Carlos Lewis, Ryan, and that's it. Thank you.
All right. Well, congratulations to you again, and I'm sure we'll see you again in a couple of weeks, and as fast as always. So congratulations, Josh.
Thank you. Appreciate
You
it.
know, Larry, to hear Josh, he's only been doing iRacing for just about a year now, and and this being, of course, then his rookie season, and to see how he drives, especially around some of the top talent like an Elvis Rankin, like a Mitchell Peak, like a Zach Burke, just absolutely amazing to watch, and good humble kid. So congratulations to Josh. All right, so let's as we start to wrap things up here, let's take a look and see what events we have coming up as part of the different Ricmotech series here. And the next up on the schedule is going to be next week at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, where we've got the GT4 and TCR cars as part of the sports car series. That is going to be round 3 of 8. They are like this classic sprint series, going to have their 75-minute enduro. So definitely make sure to join us next Monday at 8 p.m. Round 3 for the Ricmotech World Challenge is going to be Monday night, March 1st. So definitely join us for that, where we've got our LMP2 cars, the GTE and GT3 cars. If it's anything like the race that Larry and I saw last week, you are not going to want to miss it. Or probably 2 weeks ago. And then at Sonoma Raceway, we've got round 4 of the classic sprint car series. So our Mazda drivers, Mazda MX-5 drivers, they are going to be back. That is March 8th. And that will be a great race to watch as well. So definitely join us for those events coming up. And if you want to find all the final championship results and information about each of the 3 Ricmotech series, including the classic sprint series that you just watched, go to extrememotorsports99.com to get all of that information. All righty. So, Larry, what were your thoughts coming away after 75 minutes of amazing action here?
It never lets down. The excitement never stops, and this series is proving to be one of the best series that you can watch and to participate in. It's got talent, it's got excitement, it comes right down to the end. These finishes are just amazing, but it's 75 minutes of some of the best racing anywhere. I can't wait to see it again in 3 weeks for more Miatas, but I'm excited to see next week again at Mosport. I love this whole Ricmotech series. There's a lot of great racing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been great, and I'm so glad that they've allowed me to sit in for the 3/4 of a race that I was able to sit in this evening. Hopefully, I'll make it for the entire event next week. But for Alex Simpson and Dennis Branch sitting back behind the controls with the folks at Apex Racing TV and everybody from Extreme Racing and Ricmotech, I want to thank Larry McLeod. I'm Greg Ginsburg, and we'll see you next Monday for the Sports Car Series.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com.